I chose 5 tools that I thought were going to be useful for my job as an experienced program owner at my company, which is called Genesis. You can see the logo on my PowerPoint presentation because that is our proprietary logo, and I'm using, of course, my company's devices. 5 tools. One is Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is a collaboration tool that allows users to store files, to chat, to do video conferencing, and of course, integrate with third-party applications, right? A lot of you have experience with this tool. It is part of our Penn State Office 365 suite. So wouldn't be shocked if this tool, as well as many others, you would be familiar with. Microsoft OneNote is my second tool. This is part of the 365 suite as well. It's primarily used for note-taking. Yeah, it's a really straightforward tool. Doesn't require saving. You can, again, treat it like a notebook. My third tool, and we're going to start to get in some more nuanced tools that are really more prescribed for work in corporate America or design, or you may or may not have experience with these next 3. But Miro is my third tool, and that is another digital collaboration tool that allows users to brainstorm together in real time using templates and widgets. It's essentially like a big giant whiteboard that you can put sticky notes on and collaborate on. Fourth tool is Smartsheet. Smartsheet's platform used to capture data for project plans and designated worksheets. Relatively straightforward. There's many variations of this tool, but think of it as like an Excel spreadsheet with that's really just dedicated to project management. You can, do a lot of different things with it. You can add, dates and times and users and all sorts of stuff. Final tool is Simpler. This is, I think, the most interesting tool that I am covering today. It is interesting because I can explore or have explored ways to automate company-wide communications. Simpler is a user-friendly intranet that gives employees the ability to create their own content and collaborate. So hard to explain. I'm going to try to show a visual later that will make more sense. Okay. All right, uses for each tool. I pretty much alluded to this already, right? Microsoft Teams is going to be used for chat and virtual meetings with members of my companies, especially my primary team. OneNote was used through the last 8 weeks to take notes and send out recaps of meetings. Miro, again, brainstorming exercises. I'll talk a little more about this later. I did one particular exercise with my team that I think was really, again, successful. Smartsheet, project tracking, and Simpler, again, employee communications. I will do my best to show examples. All right. Come on, I'm trying to transition here. There we go. So strategy and tactics, right? The ultimate goal here is that I'm using tools that work for me, but also can integrate with my foundational tool of Microsoft Teams, right? Ideally, I want to be able to put all of the tabs, right? I want to be able to put a tab for each tool on my homepage, if you will, right? Or on a workspace that I'm using. Here's an example. This is my team workspace. And obviously, the default stuff you see here is posts. You can add your files. Here, we've experimented with some different things. And I can, again, we're probably looking at the conclusion before the beginning of the actual timeline here, but just want to give an overview. The EE Team Notebook is a OneNote tab that I've integrated into the workspace. Tasks is actually for Microsoft Planner. We could not get a third-party integration for Smartsheet, so we use Planner instead. More on that later. Miro was supposed to be on here. Couldn't get that to work, so it's actually now MS Whiteboard. And Simpler just is not a tool that you use on Teams. But the idea is that everything's on here. Chat, communications, your posts, you could do virtual meetings, and then you can plop around these different tabs to keep track of all your work. All right, so here's a quick overview of the strengths and opportunities of the tools, right? So Microsoft Teams. Of course, the potential integration of third-party programs. That is the strength. The weakness is that the third-party programs don't always work, right? You think you can pop in Miro, or you think you can pop in Smartsheet, and you find out that you can't. There's some complex login issues or administrative blocks. It's just not going to work all the time. And then, of course, we had a lot of conflict between Teams and Zoom, right? I think our IT team has to select one tool for virtual collaboration, or else people are going to not know what to do, right? So some people are on Zoom, some people are on Teams. OneNote integrates with Outlook meetings, and it feels like a notebook. It also integrates with Teams, which I didn't mention, but you could see on the previous slide. And for me, honestly, the opportunity was I hate not writing on paper. I just felt like I was not retaining information. Miro strengths, it's an advanced tool, lots of features. It's super fun to use as a participant. As a facilitator, there's a steep learning curve. You're going to have to learn how to work with a lot of people, train them on the tool. You need practice. It's not easy to use if you're a facilitator. Smartsheet, simplified project tracking as a strength opportunity. Steep learning curve for pretty much anything else. If you want to make automated workflows and do some of the complicated things that the tool can really excel at, even just building widgets and dashboards where you can show, for example, your executive progress reports. You need to learn how to do that stuff. It's not easy, and I still haven't had time to do it, but I want to be able to automate stuff, and I can't do it yet. Simpler strengths, easy to use once you get the hang of it. It simplifies the communication experience within a limited sandbox. Just think about the iPhone, right? You can't do everything in the iPhone, but the things that you can do are simple and easy to do, and they're easy and fun to learn. Opportunity. Simpler has a medium learning curve. It requires experience to really get the hang of it. Adoption and evolution over time. Yeah, so let me back out here for a second. I want to make sure my screen is working. Adoption evolution over time. The adoption for Teams started off strong, but died out after a few weeks. OneNote, again, a great idea, but fizzled out. Miro, use it for one exercise, but then pivoted to Microsoft Whiteboard. I'm going to show you guys in a second kind of the outcomes of some of these things. Smartsheet, successful adoption, overtook OneNote as my primary note tool. And Simpler, I was the primary adopter. It's not for everybody on my team, but it's definitely going to inspire others to use the tool. I've shown my work to some folks. I'm going to show it to you guys as well. And the idea is that I think adoption will increase as I help people learn the tool. So let me pivot really quickly. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do my lessons learned real quick. So before I go back, lessons learned. Your technology is only as good as your underlying processes, okay? You cannot use Teams if your IT team is not committed to just one tool. We are using Teams, we're using Zoom, we're using Outlook. There's too much going on. Another lesson I learned is if you are really good at a tool, people are going to ask you to help them, and that's going to take up a lot of your time and decrease your productivity. MS Teams, great in principle, but the integrations make it slow and clunky. I found that there were many things that happened that actually slowed down my progress. If multiple people are collaborating in Teams on let's say, an Excel spreadsheet, a lot of times your data is going to overwrite, or there's going to be some sync issues that you're going to have to be aware of. I would not recommend it as your primary tool based on what I learned. But I think it's still a great tool. It just needs to be monitored closely. OneNote is a snooze fest. It's boring. I don't get any value out of the situation, in my opinion. I think that for me, OneNote is just boring. I'd rather take notes on a piece of paper, and I don't retain information as well on OneNote than if I put it on a piece of paper. Miro is fun as a participant, but can be nerve-wracking as a facilitator. Smartsheet was a huge productivity booster for me. Again, I'll show you guys in a second the whole bit. Simpler was my dark horse, and I found it to be really an amazing tool. Again, before I go backwards, future plans, I'm just going to limit my workflow to these four tools, right? Outlook and Zoom will be used to communicate. Smartsheets will be used to create my project frameworks for any of the work that I need to do. I'm going to complete my project deliverables one by one, and then I'm going to use Simpler to build out all of my communications, right? And then launch those communications in sync with my project launch, whether it's a technology or if it's, I don't know, just some sort of a program launch. So, all right, let me pivot over to the work. Hopefully this is going to come through okay. And let me share my screen. If I can find the button. Okay. I cannot share my screen. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay. So, couple of things. Number one, here's Miro. Miro is a super cool tool. We are currently making, here's an example. We're making like a stop, start, and continue exercise. You can use sticky notes. You can basically make these little grids and you can, create directions over on the side to like show people like what the exercise is about. Still not beautiful, still a work in progress. What we found out is that most of our team members within my company, Genesis, don't have access to Miro. This is really actually locked down to a few teams. So we actually had to move over to Microsoft Whiteboard, which I feel like does just enough to get the bare bones of the work done. If you can point out a difference between this look, right, and this look, please tell me what it is. It's the exact same experience. There are tons of copycats out there that do what Miro does, like Lucid Chart. Obviously, Whiteboard has one. This can integrate into your Microsoft Teams space, which is what we did. Highly recommend using Whiteboard for collaboration, for drawing things, for sticky notes, brainstorming. There are templates that are built in. I'm afraid if I click on a button, I'm going to blow something up, but here you go, actually. You can find all sorts of templates, like how to brainstorm, like using daily stand-ups, jobs to be done, retrospectives. This is a really cool tool. I encourage everybody to use it. It's usually free with your company account. It's a no-brainer. Here's Smartsheets. I just want to point out one thing. I have a lot of project work in here, and I just want to show everybody here that you can add all sorts of stuff to your tasks. And what I ended up starting to do was put a bunch of notes in my conversations tab. So like I would just go, sample notes, I want to talk to Susie tomorrow about this project. And then you can save that and keep track of everything tied to your deliverables. You have to go around fishing through OneNote to actually get your notes. Everything is locked into the most important deliverables. Like if I want to figure out how to, create my data layer automation for a particular project, I know I have notes that are already there from discussions with people from other meetings. So I don't need to go into OneNote anymore. I don't want to go into OneNote. This is my primary note-taking tool. Might not work for everybody, but this works for me. Finally, this is simpler. This is the intranet site. It can be branded to your company's collateral. The main takeaway is I made all of this stuff. This is really cool. Like this is a whole experience. I'm going to show you guys an article that I made. It might not be the one from my paper, Dr. Fu, but if you're watching. But just want to show you. I made the headings. I made the collateral. I made the words. I took my PowerPoint stuff and screenshotted it in there. Excuse me. You might not be able to see this, but you can comment and like on people's articles. You can see engagement. This is the way to go, okay? Forget about email communications. Forget about email newsletters. This is the way you should be communicating. If your company has a public intranet site like this is like the iPhone of intranet sites. I don't think I can make a mistake. After I learned the basics, it's so easy to track and to do really quality work in. Okay. So again, thank you for watching. I think I might have went over my allotted time, but I just wanted to say that this was a really fun experience. If you do watch my video, and I know everybody's got things going on, please check out Simpler and Smartsheet. If I have one takeaway or two takeaways, check out those two programs. Use what you're normally doing, but they are huge productivity boosters for me. I think they'll be the same for you. Thank you.